I am wonderful. Thank you so much for that introduction and for allowing me to speak today.
Oh, absolutely, a pleasure. And before we continue, I'd love to hear a little bit about yourself, your own journey, whatever you're open to sharing with us before we jump into this topic.
Yeah, I am a 100% open book, so whatever you want to know. Um, so I am a transgender fluid human. I live in Columbus, Ohio. Travel around North America doing photography and trans advocacy. Married to a wonderful cisgender woman, and yeah, just a great, very proud of where I've come. I came out in 2018 and have since grown into this amazing person and just trying to use my platform and my skills to enhance our community, to celebrate our community, and educate everyone on what it means to be trans.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that healthy dose of self-love you just put in there. You are a beautiful human. And I think it's so important for, us as queer folks to be able to be like, yes, I am beautiful. That took like years of therapy of looking in the mirror and being like, you are beautiful, Hunter.
Yes,
Good. That took a long
yes.
time.
So much therapy. Are you kidding me? So much therapy. Um, I mean, my wife always tells me I need to get better at taking compliments and giving compliments to myself, and definitely been reflecting on that and doing that a lot more often. And it's not something to be vague, like, or to be vogue about. Like, I am proud of the journey I have overcome and what I have done in my life and what I'm continuing to do.
I love hearing that. And before we move on to, how would you like me to refer to you?
Uh, so Vincent-Natasha Gay is my legal name. That's a mouthful. So usually I just have people call me Envy because VN sounds terrible. So Envy. Um,
Not without a
so
sense of humor either. And
right. I always say it's because people are envious of me. Yeah, I know. But yeah, and then my pronouns are they, them.
awesome. Thank you. So Hunter, he, they. So I have to say, I've been looking at your work as a photographer. I also have worked as a photographer for the past 10 years. So I have just was really enjoying looking at your portfolio, which is expansive, by the way. It's just like a massive amount of work that you've been doing over. It's just so wonderful. At the end we'll plug it, but please do check out Envy's website. It's really cool what they're up to. So let's get into the topic, and I'd love to, as we move through it, we can weave in how you've been navigating your journey and advocacy through a photography lens, through the image, right? It's so powerful, what we can convey with storytelling in an image, and just like how that, once we've put an image out there, we're sort of no longer in control of how people react to it, right? Like, we can create a narrative, but people are going to react the way they're going to react. So with that as sort of the lens I'm interested in, so to speak, no pun intended. Tell me about, let's start from the very basics here. Like, what does it mean for you to be transgender, and help like invite our audience in that might have some maybe misconceptions about what that is.
Yes. So yeah, this has been a hot topic lately. About what does it actually mean to be trans. There's a lot of people trying to define it in their own way, and there's for a very long time there's been a lot of restrictions placed upon trans, what it means to be trans and are you actually trans. A lot of the older trans generation will remember having to take a very misogynistic test given by doctors and therapists to determine if your brain is actually the opposite gender, and then having to transition fully using hormones and surgeries in order to live from one binary to another. That definition is very antiquated. It leaves a lot of people out. And a lot of people who did transition back then were forced to transition in a way that doesn't necessarily fit them. For some people, a binary transition is incredible, and it's exactly what you need. That's male to female or female to male. But for others, a non-binary transition is what is needed for yourself. Like myself, for a very long time, I did not have surgery, I did not have hormones, but that didn't make me any less trans. That just made me me. So simply, well, I put it as being trans means that you identify your gender differently than you were assigned at birth. We were all assigned either male or female at birth based upon genitalia. And that is not, it works for some people. And for those people it works for, great, awesome, so happy for you. But it doesn't work for all people. And to force this idea of being trans as either being male or female and being these binary labels just excludes so many people, excludes so many different ways of life, so many different ways of just being able to present yourself that are truly authentic and truly beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's really important. And thank you for that historical context too, of folks that had to take that horrific test and
Mm-hmm.
go from one box to another box. And maybe, like you said, maybe that was perfect for some people. And then there's a lot of people that were left out, and maybe that might have caused more confusion once that had happened. So what are some other misconceptions that you have either faced, experienced, witnessed, that, or maybe when you are showing your work, for instance, and someone has a reaction that maybe is maybe a little out of date as well? So like, talk to me about like how some of these misconceptions show up and how you're able to like meet them with dignity, respect, kindness when necessary.
Yeah, I think a big misconception that's out there regarding the trans community is that a transition is easy, that people just decide to transition and that they can transition, and that there are, I think I saw a TikTok video the other day that was asking someone, what percent of the population do you think is trans? And he said like 20%. And I'm saying like, no, no, it's less than 1% of the US population is trans identifying, and that's trans binary and non-binary. Um,
Mm.
so it's out there. A lot of people like think this community is huge, which is great, and it's because we've been getting a lot more social media presence and media coverage, which is absolutely needed. But there's a lot of misinformation that goes around with it, and being trans is not an easy journey. It is something that it takes a lot of reflection and a lot of time and a lot of money, and it's a challenging journey. I mean, it's one that you have to overcome quite a lot. You have to have that self-reflection to understand who you are, understand what you need to feel complete. For me, being assigned male at birth, I felt very incomplete without my breasts. For a very long time, I felt like a part of my body was missing. I felt like I would wake up, feel like longing for the feeling of the weight on my chest and not having it, feeling like it was completely missing from me. And I had to endure that for 30 years. I had to deal with that. Um, I remember as young as age 8, starting to understand that my gender was not male. And I remember as a teenager I used to pray to God at night to give me one day as my perfect gendered self, just one day, and then I'll never want it again. That's what I would always make that deal. And I know anyone who's trans, you've thought that same thing. We've all kind of had those prayers before, whatever religion belief system you have. But it's being like the journey that it comes on is it's so hard. You lose so much. For me, I lost my birth family. A lot of my birth family decided to disown me. My wife's family decided to disown me. I lost colleagues. I lost friends. I lost a lot, even a job because of my identity. But eventually I learned that what I gained from it is actually so much better. I gained a chosen family. I gained a support network and people around me that love me unconditionally, which is what we all want. We all just want that unconditional love. And so, yeah, I think that's probably one of the greatest misconceptions.
Yeah. Oh boy,
I know I just hit you with a lot there, didn't I?
no, I know, and I'm just thinking of like, you're like a phoenix out of the ashes. Ashes, you shall rise again, and like you become this like glorious creature. And it's like you had to lose so much, like you said, to find like this true happiness. It's quite zen. It's very beautiful, with no mud, no lotus, as the old Zen saying
Exactly.
goes, right? It's really, really beautiful, and thank you for sharing openly about this. Um, can you so I'm curious, you said there's a lot of biological family coworkers that left, and then there are the people that stayed and supported, and then you found new people. I'm curious too to hear about what roles allies have played in your life. And I'd even be curious to hear, how do you define an ally? Because I feel like many people have different definitions for this word we use.
Yes. Allyship. Um, Allyship is probably one of the greatest things that we have, and it comes in so many different shapes and forms. And um, yeah, I guess I'll start with that. I define an ally as someone who will fight for your right to be yourself. Not just someone who will say, "Oh yeah, I accept you for who you are." I mean, that's great. I mean, we should all accept each other for who we are, no matter what our religious background, our gender, our sexuality, our skin color. You should just accept people for who they are. We're all different. We're all beautiful. It's easy as that. But being a true ally means that you're willing to stand up and say that each person has the right to do this. Right now in this country, we are seeing a uptick in anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ legislations all across the country. Like almost, I think it's 46 out of the 50 states have some type of legislation to block transitioning in youth, block to out kids, to the don't say gay stuff, talking about that, book bans, all this type of stuff that's going on. And to be a true ally means you're going to stand up against those. You're going to vote against those. You're going to speak audibly against those. You know, not everyone has a super large platform, and that's fine. But the platform that you do have, the following that you have, the voice that you have is important. And to stand up and show that you're there to support, you are there to love unconditionally, it really makes a true ally. And luckily, I have found those people in my life. I have wonderful cisgender and queer allies in my life. I have people who are willing to stand beside me and endure the hits. I mean, that's what it's going to take right now. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm curious what, you brought up all the trans legislation that's happening right now. Yeah, I think 46 states is right. It's just baffling. Luckily, something got struck down, just yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see, if that impacts other courts' decisions. But there's a lot of this, for me, I can feel quite powerless when something like this is going on. It's like, well, I don't live in these states, and these are just going to judges. I don't get to vote on this. So like, what can I do? What can someone else do to fight against this wave that we're experiencing?
You know, a lot of us think that same thing. What can I do? What, like, I'm just one person, but we forget that those judges are just one person. Those representatives are just 50 people, and they're making decisions upon your behalf. And you have the voice to change that, whether it is through voting, whether it is through protesting, writing to those legislators. Um, but even still, like, there are the far majority of people out there just don't feel like they are involved in politics, don't feel like they care to get involved in it. And you have a voice, you have a platform. The only reason all of these laws are coming up is because the opposition thinks that they have the ability to pass these things. They have the ability to do it because they don't see people fighting back against it. They don't see a large number. What we need is our allies to fight back against this, to speak up, to stand up. I mean, for like these people, these legislators who are proposing these laws, they can give a rat's a about what I say. They don't care what I have to say because I'm trans. They're just going to tune me out right away. They won't listen to what my voice, but they'll listen to yours. They'll listen to your voice, the regular American who they think they can just sweep under the rug and say, well, you're only going to vote every 4 years at the presidential level, and that's it. You have so much power. Your voice carries so much weight, and if you use it, things will change. They won't, trust me. Every senator, every representative, every congressperson, council person, what speaks to them are the votes. Do they have the votes? Will they win their next election? If they don't, they won't propose those type of bills because it's going against what will keep them in office, what will keep them in a job. So make your voice known, stand up, be a true ally. And it goes even like, that's not just speaking to cisgender folks, or that's speaking to everyone. That's speaking to queer folks. A lot of the, unfortunately, there's been kind of a left behind by the LGBT community towards the trans and gender nonconforming community. And I get it. For a very long time, the fight was for equal rights for love. Love is love. And now we're at a point where you can get married. Like, it's not a civil union, it's a marriage. And it's awesome. You're allowed to adopt kids. You're allowed to have a family. And that's something that is amazing. The fight, we have come to this point where things are so amazing, but the trans community is in a huge fight right now. We are fighting for our right to exist. It's the same fight that the LGBT community fought 30 years ago for the right to be married, to have their love seen as love. And without the help of everyone, trans rights are going to fall by the wayside.
Yeah. And, you mentioned earlier the misconceptions maybe that the, potentially like the more heteronormatives might have. What misconceptions, you mentioned this leave behind within the queer community under our rainbow umbrella. What would you say are some of the misconceptions you have seen or been faced? Hello, doggy.
Sorry, my dogs are very loud and will just bark at anything, apparently.
Well, I'm a dog lover. I'm a pet parent. Mine's just luckily tuckered out right now.
Oh, good. You're lucky. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I mean, there is the narrative that gender is a very hard construct to understand. And we've been taught for so long, and we've been taught this black and white narrative, this male or female narrative. And it's something that has been very, brought in from religious influence from over the years. If we look back through history, many cultures have had non-binary and transgender like communities, and those have flourished, whether it's from the ancient Greek and Roman communities, whether it's from Polynesian communities or Asian communities or Native American communities. Almost every culture has had some type of transgender, non-binary, third gender, two-spirit representation, and those have all been seen as beautiful, as valid, as important. A lot of those people were part of the main religion, were part of education, were healers. And now we've come to the system where you either got to be male or female. And it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit for who we are as humans. Humans are ever evolving, ever changing. We're beautiful, we're diverse. I mean, it's wonderful to be human, and being human means that you can explore everything. We're not just having to fit ourselves into a box. And within the trans community, a lot of people get a lot of hate if they change their gender identity or change their pronouns. And I speak directly to that gender is ever evolving. People can easily be be assigned male at birth and feel comfortable living as a male, and eventually discover that, maybe I'm more female, maybe I'm more non-binary, and that's a valid transition. We grow, we expand our understanding of self as we evolve over time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that's a really eloquent way of saying F around and find out, right? Like that's like we kind of got to do it because it changes and we're allowed to change our minds as we continue to discover things about ourselves. You're like, oh, it's this. Oh no, it's this. Oh, now that I've transitioned, I'm actually not gay. And like, it's like all of these journeys, it could go 1,000 different ways, but there's no way of knowing really until we are either like brave enough and or have the access to tap into it.
Yes, we just need the freedom to be able to explore. Gender and sexuality is not defined by a single box that you have to live within for your entire life. No, no, stop that nonsense.
Yeah.
Be Allow us to explore who we are as people, and it's okay to live that way. A lot of people feel like they have to be fit into a box forever. Once they define themselves, they have to stay that way. No, evolve, grow, change, be your beautiful self. And speaking to that, there's another misconception around the community about age and how young you can be to transition, or how old you need to be to transition. And that it comes into a lot of the laws. There are a lot of laws trying to ban youth from transitioning.
Mhm.
And a lot of people come back and say, well, you truly don't know who you are as a kid. Bullcrap. Bullcrap. Kids know who they are, and they have the right to freely express who they are and change who they are. We're allowed to grow. I always talk about it like, think back when you were in middle school. How many different times did you change your personality in middle school to fit into a crowd, or change your clothing because you wanted to, be you felt like, oh, now I'm going to hit a goth phase. I'm going to dress more like that. No, now I'm going to be more preppy. You are allowed to do that. You're
Yeah.
allowed to put on those different hats and try them out to see what fits yourself.
Yeah.
The same thing with gender and sexuality. There is no right age to transition. There is no wrong age to transition. The best way to transition is the way that is best for you.
Yes.
I know. Snap, 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 snap.
Okay, so we just have a little less than 10 minutes left. So I would love to hear about your current project. This is Trans. This is a photo series that you are continuing to do. Tell me about it. What's going on? How long you've been working on it? Where is it going? What are you hoping to accomplish? What have you accomplished with it so far?
Yes. So this project, This is Trans, is currently traveling the country. It is a portrait project. So basically what I've been doing is I've been going around capturing portraits of transgender individuals, and not just trans binary individuals, but transgender individuals from all under the trans umbrella. And that's a big thing that I'm trying to include, is that being trans is an umbrella. And under that umbrella are so many different identities. There are so many different gender identities that fall under that, and each are equally valid and beautiful. And so this project is trying to show that. It's not necessarily separating trans and non-binary. It's showing that we are all trans. The project, like I said, is made up of over 200 images currently. It is ongoing. So each time I take it to a new place, I hold an open portrait session where I capture transgender individuals in that area. For instance, this weekend, it is going to Savannah, Georgia, for the Stonewall Block Party at First City Pride Center on Saturday. And then Sunday, I'll be doing open portraits for any transgender individual in that area. These portraits are completely free. You can come out, express who you are, and just be beautiful. The project, each photo also contains the pronouns of the participant and the answer to the quote, "What does being trans mean to me?" And that's a huge thing for this project, because each time you look at a portrait, it's like, okay, cool. I like the photography. They did a good job capturing, but I want you to hear the voice of each person. And so understanding what being trans means to each person is so beautiful and unique and diverse that it really hits us, like it hits hard. This project hits hard each time it's seen. I have people walking away crying because it's powerful to see exactly what this means. Um, Participants are ranging from the ages of 12 to 85. We have all different kinds of backgrounds. We have different religions, different um, skin colors, different countries, everything. Uh, there is no limitations to who can be involved within the transgender community. And then there's also a coffee table book that is continuing to expand because I keep adding more pages because I keep capturing new people. But the coffee table book includes everyone. So a lot of these times when I take the exhibit around, I can only take like 30 to 50 portraits. So it's not the full exhibits. Coffee table book is a great way of being able to do that.
Oh, I love that. So it's so great to hear about all the impact that this project is having for you personally, for the people involved. And someone asked from the audience, what are some of the positive outcomes or changes you've witnessed as a result of the project, both on an individual level and with larger communities? So I think we talked about some of the individual thing. I'd love to hear about the communities aspect.
Yeah. So when I took it to Virginia, I took it to Harrisonburg, Virginia, which is a small town. I was actually very surprised when I got there to Friendly City Safe Space about how amazing the LGBTQ plus community and just the entire community of Harrisonburg, Virginia actually was. We had a lot of people show up to that, but more importantly, we had some people come who cisgender academics come from the local universities. And I had a call last week with one of those academics who said that her husband walked out of there and just looked at her and was like, I needed to come to this today. Like he was like, I didn't know what I was walking into, but he left like, oh my God, I needed to see this. I needed to understand this project. While it's speaking to the trans community, it is not just for the trans community. It is for everyone. I encourage anyone and everyone to come out and see this. This being trans is such a hot topic debate right now, and you truly need to understand what it means to be trans in order to form a true opinion on it. And a lot of the time when you sit down, you actually talk with a trans person, your opinion is going to change. Your empathy is going to be more like, oh shit, this person has gone through a lot and they're just trying to be themselves. That's it. They don't want to groom. They don't want to convert people. They just want to be themselves. And that's the beauty behind it.
Yeah. So in these last couple minutes, so there's the coffee table book, there's the expos that we come see when it's in our local town. What are other ways that people and folks can support your project?
Yes. So online at my website, www.vincent-natasha.com. I know a lot. There is a small little display of the project available to be seen. I think I have like 30 portraits on there right now with some videos, some interviews I've done, and ways of getting involved, and then actually stuff you can purchase. There is a series called Queer Than a $2 Bill, where I took a $2 bill and removed the dead white guy from the bill and replaced it with participants from the project, and showing their beauty. And then also changed a couple other like things. If you can find them, there's some like hidden fun things in there. So I encourage you to look through those. But there are stuff that you can purchase. There's ways you can donate to the project. And then if you want to see the project in person, please message me. Let's figure out how I can bring it to your area. No town is too small. I will bring it to your area. I just need a place that's going to host it. That's it.
Love that. Well, we're pretty much out of time. Someone asked, maybe we can wrap up. What advice would you give to an aspiring photographer who wants to use their art to promote social change, or any artist really?
Yes. Play around, have some fun, and listen to others. The best thing I did when I started doing my advocacy photography is I listened to others and started to tell their story. And that allowed the artwork to flow. It allowed me to really truly understand. And then with photography, play with your camera, have some fun. Don't necessarily read the manuals, just play with settings, go to different things and explore. That's my best advice I can give to you.
I love that. Envy, it's been such a delight to chat with you. Thank you so much for making the time today, and for sharing with such an open, candid heart. I love your work. I love you. You're great. So please come back. I hope we can keep the conversation going. And for folks who would love to chat with you more, how can they keep the conversation going with you? What's the best way?
Yes. Find me on Instagram at nv.gay. And just message. I'm always willing to chat. I'm always willing. Like if you've got a question, all I say is just don't say hi. Those messages I delete. But if you actually come and ask a question, I'm going to respond to you. I'm going to talk to you, and we can really become friends.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to this future friendship as well. I'm glad it started today. Thank
Yes.
you.
Have a wonderful day, everybody, and thank you so much.
Take care now.